Your house is all abuzz with excitement because tonight is the Passover Seder. It also happens to be Shabbat. Anyway, when you come home from shul, everyone takes their place around the Seder table, gleaming with your finest dishes and all the various accoutrements needed for the Seder, the matzah, bitter herbs, charoset, everything. Well, to start the Seder, you need to pour the first cup of wine. You notice, however, that while you have many bottles of white wine, you only have one bottle of red wine. And you remember learning that for the 4 cups of wine that we drink on Seder night, red wine is preferred because it reminds us of the blood in Egypt, both the blood spilled by the wicked Pharaoh and also the blood of the lamb that the Jews placed on their doorposts on the night before the Exodus. Seeing this predicament, your son suggests adding a bit of red wine to the white wine to make a somewhat reddish mixture. You are so proud of your son's suggestion that you give him an affectionate pinch on the cheek, momentarily turning it red. Okay, so as you're mixing the red wine into the white wine, wouldn't you know it? Some of the red wine spills onto the clean, white tablecloth. Well, don't get upset. Somehow it wouldn't quite feel like Passover without spilled wine. But our question is, how can you clean this up? And does our little scenario involve any other issues related to the malacha of tzoveya, coloring? All right, let's start with cleaning up the spill. We learned that according to some authorities, in order to avoid doing tzoveya to a fabric, we should wipe colored stains only with a cloth that is 1, not white, and 2, not the same color as the stain itself. So in this case, don't use a white towel or a red towel to clean up this red wine stain. Now, what about disposable cloths like napkins or paper towels? These can be used no matter what color they are. There's no issue of improving their appearance since they are thrown out right away. Now, you also need to be careful if the paper towel or the rag becomes fully saturated. In such a case, moving it will inevitably cause liquid to be squeezed out due to the pressure of your fingers, and this is a problem of schita. We discussed this in lesson number 9. Here's another issue of tzoveya in our little Passover episode. We learned that there is a principle of ein tzoveya be'ochlin. There is no prohibition of coloring foods. So if you add something to make the food taste better, even though the food's color will change, that is not a problem. However, this does not apply to coloring food in a way which adds no appreciable taste. So in our case, adding the red wine to the white wine is actually problematic because your intention is purely to color the white wine, not to improve its taste. But there's a simple solution. Think about it. We said that adding the red wine to the white wine is prohibited because you are now coloring the white wine. But what if you did it the opposite? Start with some red wine and add the white wine to that. This would be permitted because in such a case you are not coloring the red wine. Quite the opposite, you're actually weakening the color. Interesting. And finally, here's an aspect of tzoveya that you may not have considered. When your son made his suggestion, you gave him an affectionate pinch on the cheek, momentarily turning it red. Now we learned that it is prohibited under the malacha of tzoveya to add color to a person's skin. That's why one would not apply cosmetics on Shabbat. But in this case, it is permitted to pinch your son's cheek. Firstly, because you have no intention to color his cheek, and secondly, because the coloring is so temporary. Now, enjoy the Passover Seder.